Radio Rahim with one of the very few people in boxing who needs no introduction, but it's always Frank Warren, you know that. And yet again, Frank, we're at the O2. It's been a great story about Chisora's career, and he says it's going to be his last time at the O2. However, I don't know that that is even necessarily of his choosing. The conversation around this fight, as you well know, is like, it's even called go big or go home, but they're quite serious about going home. Do you agree that whoever loses this fight is done?
I think they've got a real struggle to get back to the top table. I really do. I think the winner goes on, and I think because of their respective ages, although Joe's not got a lot of mileage on the clock as far as he's concerned, compared with Dereck, this is his 48th fight. But Joe's fought quite a high level, obviously, Olympic silver medalist, got robbed of the gold, and obviously fought a good level, interim world champion. Win over Joe Parker, who's resurrected his career. And it can be done, resurrecting careers, but this one and their styles, somebody's going to get knocked out. Because that's the way they fight.
Now, we know Chisora's never been a shrinking violet by any stretch of the imagination, but he started this fight week a little early yet again. Also, He's no stranger to that. Out on the roads, I've heard many different versions of this story. I'm not casting anybody as the villain. Who knows what this fella did to get Chisora in that space? But what do you know about it? And what is your measure of what's happened with this Deliveroo driver?
Oh, I've only seen the video. From what I understand, he was rude to his family. And I've seen the video. The Deliveroo guy, they're arguing, and the Deliveroo guy gives him, that's what happened.
Mad, yeah.
I want to sign him up. And then he put the nut on him. So that was that.
Now, if on Saturday night, Chisora's still in that same cranky mood, and
who knows,
comes out, he says, of course this is his style, but he says he's going to come out just, right into the face with Joyce.
I think he will.
I think he will.
Because I think that's what he's got to do. He doesn't get on the back foot, does he? He walks forward. War. That's his name. And Joe's the juggernaut. So you got War and Juggernaut.
But so who does that benefit, though? They're both doing that. Who's going to get the better of a contest? It's just
the one who lands the big one. That's it. That's what it'll be. The one who, the strongest, who throws the biggest shot, he will prevail. I really do believe that. It won't go the distance. And I don't think it's going to go long.
Yeah.
I really don't.
How many rounds are you expecting?
I think 5 or 6 rounds. I think it's going to be a tear-up.
Joyce has said, losses don't define your career. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but, he intends to go on no matter what. And he thinks getting into that upper echelon, that top conversation again in the heavyweight division, has not yet eluded him. I mean, do you see a path for him to climb back into that?
If he wins the fight, he's there. He'll be in big fights. You've got the 2 big fights on the 20. You've got one, the Wembley edition of the Riyadh season on the 21st of September. IBF title on the line. That decides, I believe my man will come through, Daniel Dubois, but you've got that fight on. Then on the 21st of December, we're back in Riyadh for a Riyadh season rematch between Tyson and Usyk. After that, the governing bodies are going to be calling for mandatories, or the belts even may fragment. Who knows what's going to happen? But these guys are going to be in the mix. And that's what it's all about. The heavyweight division is so lively at the moment. That is what will happen. You're going to get some big fights out of it. There've been some this is a big fight in this country. You've got some big fights happening, and there'll be even bigger ones. And to get to the chance to challenge for the world title for one of these guys is going to be something extra special. So they're going to get everything they've got into this, because, as I say, the loser, he ain't going to get there.
And last one on this, it's always an uncomfortable conversation when fighters have taken a lot of punishment, come to the 48th fight of their career, and people start talking about their concern for their well-being, for their health. Each man has his own decision to make, to be sure. But is that something you take into consideration when making these fights? Because they can't fight unless somebody makes it.
I told him he should retire. I've said it publicly. He should have retired a few years ago. That was my opinion. He is still licensed by the British Boxing Board of Control. He's still ranked by a lot of organisations. He fulfills all the medical criteria to be allowed to box. That's his choice. It's the most dangerous of sports. At the end of the day, it's nice to earn money in boxing, which is the hardest of all sports, but you need to know, and your brain needs to know, what bank the money's in. And so, there comes a time where, look, I'm a big believer in this. all fighters, they're the first to know when their career's to end. They know when it's gone, but they're the last to admit it. And that's the problem.
Well, a young man in Daniel Dubois is the next big fight after this big fight. And he's going to have, a target on his back, certainly if he comes through on Joshua. He's holding that IBF, that outlier belt for the undisputed. He's faced Joyce and been unsuccessful, but now he's the champion and Joyce isn't.
That's this merry-go-round of anyway. But remember, he's a young man. He's only 26.
Right. This is what I'm saying. So, kind of like the youngest of the lot and looking to replace all these lions. This man is in your stable. What is the wisest trajectory for Joe Joyce's career? Because maybe going right into the blade saw back with Usyk or Fury even for a first fight is not what's in the cards. How does this man take advantage of his IBF championship?
First of all, you've got a situation where if Daniel retains his title that he's got now, if he wins that, and I believe he can and he will do it. And if Joe comes through, for example, it's a no-brainer as a fight, is it? Because of the last time and the controversial ending it had. That's a no-brainer.
Oh, man. All right, so then let's talk about how Dubois comes through Joshua, because we're saying that relatively casually, but that's no easy task.
Well, it's not an easy task, but, you've seen these last two fights, you've seen what he's done. He's fought better quality opposition these last few fights than AJ's done. I'm not being disrespectful. He showed in his last two fights he's had to bite down, he's had to grit his teeth and come through some moments in the fight, and he's done that. And he's beaten two undefeated fighters. One of them mandatory challenger, was the mandatory challenger for 2 years of the IBF title. Impeccable record as amateur and as a pro, and was a much avoided fighter. And those first couple of rounds, certainly against him, he was getting caught with some serious right-handers, which was concerning me and worrying me. But he gritted his teeth, got over that, and got into the fight and done a job on Hrgović. He outgamed him at the end of the day.
Both guys are on a winning streak. The quality of their opponents can always be argued, but they are definitely winning right now.
Correct.
And confidence is a big part of boxing. And, they'd say it's 80% mental, this game. Both men have been questioned as far as their mental resilience. You famously questioned Joshua's. People have questioned Dubois. Who right now wins the mental game?
The mental game, who wins it will be determined in the early stages of the fight. They both got good jabs. They're both powerful. Both hands, both good punchers. Both got good jabs. It's who can control the fight earlier on and land that first punch. I'm not talking about the punch that's going to knock somebody out, the first hurtful punch, and how they respond with that hurtful punch. Because I've got my views of what will happen. I'm not going to be disrespectful to him, but that first big shot, if my man lands it, is AJ going to stay on the front foot? Or is he going to go on the back foot? Will he do that? My guy, he got in his last fight was getting caught and kept on the front foot and on the front foot. Obviously he's got more experience, AJ, but he's fought at a high level for a 26-year-old heavyweight, Daniel.
Do you think that age differential, and Joshua's by far not an old man, but he is the senior of the two by a margin?
You're right, absolutely right, and he's obviously got far more experience. There's no doubt about that. But he's not like he's not like a guy who turns to blubber or whatever. He's a fit guy, looks after himself as far as his body's concerned. This fight is about this, heart and mind. It's the mindset and the heart and the determination for both of them. That's what's going to win this.
We talk about in the fight when the bell rings, there's only two men in the ring. But right before the bell rings, there's four. They've got trainers who are tasked with making sure that mental game is tight and that they're physically prepared for this fight. And the roles are kind of flipped in that situation. Ben Davidson is the younger trainer, has less experience, but, has been given a lot of credit for what Joshua has come through and come to.
Yeah.
Don Charles, probably not given as much credit as he deserves for where he's brought Daniel Dubois to this stage. And he's the older of the two for sure. How does the trainer matchup look to you?
the trainer matchup, you can only, as trainers, all you can do, if you're competent and good trainers, and they're both very good trainers, you can only work with what you got, but they're working with good fighters. They're not working, I mean, you know, 2-time world champion in one, and the other one, and Daniel now is the world champion. He's been interim champion of the WBA and the IBF, and now he's world champion.
Mm-hmm.
Probably give, up until he fought Tyson Usyk, the toughest fight he's ever had. Hurt him, you know. So it's all quite interesting. You know, Daniel, what I noticed with Daniel is in the last, what is it now? Probably the last couple of fights, his mental approach is much different than it was against Usyk. I think that Usyk fight was a big moment. Obviously, it was a big moment for his career, but I think he come out of that ring thinking, you know what, I could have won that fight. I could have won it. I'll let that referee get to me. I'll let it, you know. And I'm committed. It's not like even when he got stopped, he got, you know, when they stopped it, it wasn't like he was getting the shit kicked out of him, or if he was, you know, it was a big shot or anything. It was a jab. But I could see that he felt that he was not fighting this guy, fighting the referee as well. And that's not good enough. In that fight, if you got, that can happen. So you know what you got to do? You got to make that your referee and that your other referee. Get rid of it. And that's what you have to do. You got to get down and nitty-gritty and do the business. And he's done that in the last 2 fights. That's been the difference.
You say that, you know, the last few fights for Joshua haven't been the highest level of opponent. However, he is coming in confident. And a lot of people are picking him as the odds-on favorite, like a big favorite.
Okay, I've seen that, yeah.
Do you think he may be coming in overconfident and underestimating Dubois?
No, he sparred with him. But he was a kid when he sparred with him. That sparring was a bit lively.
So Joshua knows.
I think so, and he's a better fighter. He's a better fighter now. He's matured. He's a man. He's got man strength. He's a better fighter now than he was when he was 17 or 18. That's for sure.
You got the 5v5 in a sweep. We know that this rivalry is deep, but not as you know, resentful as it might have been in the past. But yet, your man has the IBF title, and it is going up against the big man at Matchroom. You know, Eddie Hearn's golden goose there. Would it mean more for Dubois to beat Joshua than it meant for the 5v5 to be a sweep?
I just want him to win. I mean, I wanted him to win. He went into that fight against Hrgovic. I mean, he was a big underdog against Hrgovic.
Yeah.
He was a big underdog against Babe Miller. They all had him as a big favourite, didn't they? And they all thought he was going to, you know, so he's used to being an underdog. And to win it, I'll be thrilled, obviously, for Queensbury, but I'll be thrilled for Daniel.
And lastly, you know, being that Usyk just gave himself a list today, sizing up his most recent opponents. Tyson Fury fared well on that list. It was the toughest fight.
It was his toughest
It was
fight.
Biggest, best defense. Usyk, to his credit, admitting that with this fight on the horizon. Do you think that those are the keys to Fury's victory if he is successful on 21st of December?
I think the key to Tyson winning this fight is to do what he done in the early part of the fight. Certainly from rounds 3 up to 7, keep doing that.
I'd say Tyson's been relatively quiet for Tyson as of recent weeks.
Because he's irrelevant. He's just come back from holiday. I spoke to him this morning. He's he's in a good place. He's happy. And we are where we are. He'll do what he's got to do.
100% confident. Are you concerned at all? Because, you know.
Look, there's nothing I can do about it. It's the contract signed. Whatever's going to be is going to be. I can't change it. I can help. But whatever's going to, how they say the old chips are going to fall, how the dice is going to roll, it'll be. And I have confidence in Daniel Dubois. I have a lot of confidence in him. I said when he got written off, I said, you're wrong. And look where he is now.
Dubois didn't make that list, for better or worse. Would you like to see him get another crack at Usyk?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would with a different referee.
And lastly, obviously, it's either Usyk or Fury that comes away in December victorious. You've got Dubois, who could potentially be holding the IBF title.
Who knows what's going to happen? Everybody wants to see. Everybody wants to see him against AJ. But I mean,
you mean Fury? So this is my question: is it Fury, AJ, no matter whether it's win or lose, or are you looking?
No. They got to do their business, and also it depends how these fights, how they are. I mean, you can lose on a split decision. It could be controversial. It could be a one-round blast out. It's how the fight's end.
Listen, Tyson and Dubois for Undisputed is the best thing for you. Probably Joshua Fury does the best business. Dubois Usyk is a big risk, but you can get both fights.
So many great fights there.
Give me the, you have the magic wand. What happens in 2025 with this heavyweight championship title merry-go-round?
I just want to see them all fight.
Come on. Give me the best scenario.
Well, for my best scenario, what I would want is obviously for Daniel Dubois to come through, Tyson to come through, and then we can sit down and have a conversation and see where we go.
Rahim. Yeah.
And we got a great fight on Saturday night. And we got Moses on there. I mean, it's just exciting times.
Rahim, having a sit down and a good conversation about where we go with Frank Warren. We will see you many times again before December, my friend.
My man.